So everyone, welcome back. No, not welcome back. Everyone, welcome to the first video on the new channel. And so this is going to be, obviously it's not contained as much, it's not as restricted on anything I can talk about. So it's gone back to what the old channel was at the start, where it was just me basically talking about bikes and the TT and everything that goes around that world, and a world that a lot of you lot are in as well. So, you know, that's why this community exists, and that's why we all get what it's all about, is because we're all fans of the same thing. And so I haven't got any script or anything. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. It's just going to be a case of just start talking like we used to and see what we come up with. So yeah, let's get straight into the first one. So obviously, if you've watched the last video I made on the TT Travel Marshal channel, and the TT Travel Marshal channel was called that because that's what it was all about at the start. And obviously because of, you know, what's happened and I've explained in that video, we're stepping away from that slightly. But I know a lot of you initially came and watched and subscribed and became part of the channel because you're interested in that role. So I can still talk about that to a point. I just can't go into details, as I've spoken about before, the reasons why that is. But a huge part of why you want to listen to what I say is because I'm in that role. And so a good example of this is that over the last, well, since Easter really, I personally have been involved with the Manx Grand Prix in helping get the newcomers ready for this year. And there's a load of us who do it. Obviously, it's not just me. Obviously, Milky and Johnny Barton are like the first sort of go-to for it, and then they bring in a load of us. So there's myself, Tony, Darren, Johnny. So you know, half the Travel Marshal squad have been involved, and then there's ex-riders as well who help out, like Carolyn Sells, Dave Master Migdal, and a few others. And so you have all these people who will come together. With, if you added up all the laps of all these people, it's just so much knowledge of the course. And it's been done over weekends. So around Easter we did one. I spoke about that in one of the Travel Marshal videos. And then over the last few weeks, we've had them back over for sort of their last official session. And it ties in with around Southern 100 time. So they don't have to make two trips if they are doing a Southern. So the last couple of times they were over, it was like back-to-back weekends, different groups on back-to-back weekends. And obviously with my day job down with the simulator, Saturday's our busiest day, so I was only available to do the Sundays. But it's good then that you're getting somebody in, somebody out, because you're getting another set of eyes, another set of ideas, and another load of experience that given to you as a newcomer. And we were blessed with really good weather, which makes a huge difference because the Easter runs out that we do tend to be plagued by weather, and the runs over the mountain can just sometimes be absolutely useless because you can't even see 50 yards past the end of your bonnet, and trying to look for peeling points and apexes can be really difficult. And even if you can see them, the relevance to where they are, some people don't even know where we are because you know what it's like when it's foggy up there. It's really tricky. So yeah, the July one we did, weather was really good. There's some amazing lads coming for this. Obviously, I say lads, there's no girl newcomers this year, there's no women involved. But the standard of newcomers, and I've said this before, it's really, really high. And in this privileged position where we get so many entries for the Manx Grand Prix, and they can weed it down to a point where the 30 or so who are going to be doing it are going to be really, really good. I'm not going to say any names for people who I think are going to be at the front because I don't want to jinx them or put any necessary pressure on them. But there's a few of them who are going to be, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to be right up there. And I've spoken about this again before, but like part of like the Traveller Marshal thing now and being invited to be part of helping out the newcomers is getting to see these people. And we've all been there, you know, we've all raced, so we've all been there. We know what it's like to come for your first time. And most of us, in fact, I'd say all of us who help out now, when we were newcomers, it was nothing like this. I'm probably the most recently retired racer, me and Johnny Hegg probably, who were the last ones to be newcomers, if you understand me. So the most recent newcomers, but we're still talking 2010, 2011. So it's still changed a lot since then. when I was a newcomer, we didn't have to do any of this. It was at the point where they were starting to do it, and so you get the, people who weren't from the Isle of Man especially were encouraged to come over, do laps in the car officially, and also, with anybody who you knew who may have raced or still race. But you didn't have to do anything. You could just obviously put your entry in, get an acceptance. First day of practice on the Saturday, around in the morning, there'd be a coach on pit lane, and you jump in the coach. And I remember it with Dick Cassidy, who was Chief Travel Marshal at the time. Dick would be at the front, he took you around a lap, but you were sat somewhere down the back, you couldn't really see, but sounds a little bit, but we knew where we were going. I did, because obviously being local, it wasn't like we were going into it blind. It wasn't like you roll up the road and you didn't know if you should go left or right. We knew where the track went. You just needed to learn it at speed, and a lap on the coach wasn't really going to help that. But that was all you had to tick off at that point. But we used to stop at in Sulby at the pub for breakfast, and there's loads of people who didn't really want any breakfast because incredibly nervous first night of practice. And going back to that first night of practice for me. I don't know. I remember it was a really, really nice night. It was sunny. I'll fire up a couple of pictures here. I remember because there's a few of my friends were newcomers that year too. And it was a really strange feeling knowing that you're about to fulfill something that you've literally dreamt about like year after year after year. And then as you start racing bikes, starting to think, I could actually do that now if I wanted to. And then eventually put an entry in and getting accepted, and then realising it's about to happen. But you're so busy with everything, like bike prep and just getting yourself ready. And I went off behind Stephen Oatesy, so he was a travel marshal up until 2 years ago. And on his little Yamaha, he was on that year, they were using the Yamahas, the TMs. And I just remember thinking about that lap, kind of just need to get this out of the way, because I was just desperate to get out there by myself. And the groups were formed for newcomer groups. Like you'll see it now, and it's probably going to be done numerically. And they'll send the modern fast bikes off first, and any of the mods, so like the 600s, then the twins in a group, and then they'll get to the classic newcomers who'll go off behind like McGuinness on his pattern or whatever, so it's all relevant. And back then it was just a bit of a mismatch, and I was in there with I don't know who. But I remember we set off, and I was probably like fourth bike in the queue, so Oatesy set off, and then the next bike, and you see they set off quite steady from the start line. And we got to top of Bray Hill, and a couple of bikes in front of me, they slowed down, like they rolled off at the top as if they weren't too sure really what was going to happen. And I could see Oatesy disappearing off the crest and down towards the bottom of Bray Hill, thinking, you boys need to get going or we're going to lose him, and we're going to be out here by ourselves. And they weren't really picking up the speed, so I just went round the outside of them, down through the bottom of Bray Hill, caught Oatesy up. I think there was another lad as well who was with him, and we had a run round, but I don't really remember much about it, apart from it just the weather was really nice. I'm just thinking about need to get back and be able to get out by myself. I had some friends who were at Kurt Michael, and they were waving and stuff, and you were going so steady that you had time to look around and you could wave and things. That it's not to diminish what it was, but it was a steady lap to just, it's a tick box exercise. It's there for a reason, I get it. But really, it's just to say, right, you've now had your sight and lap, and now you are allowed to go out by yourself. And then coming back in, and I remember my brother saying, I can't wait to see your reaction when you first come back in. But to be honest, coming back in after that lap was just a case of like, yeah, it was all right. We were actually riding over the mountain slower than you'd ride the mountain on your road bike during TT, because it was just steady, tick it off, get it done. But what really sticks out in my mind from that night was heading off down Bray Hill for the first time by yourself, and it was just, that's when it felt really wrong, really, like you were doing something wrong, like you were breaking the law. Because at this point, everything leading up to it, you either had somebody with you, somebody talking to you, you were behind somebody, you were being constantly controlled and, led through the process. And now it's just like, well, there's the road, off you go. And everything was just down to you. And I remember coming down, you through the bottom of Bray Hill. It was such a compression that I've only ever felt, you know, if any of you have done Brands Hatch and you come through round turn 1 at Paddock Hill and it compresses in the bottom and you get that sort of stomach feeling. It was like that, but 4 times worse, and then catapulted out the other side. And you got to remember as well, this isn't even a remotely fast lap. This is a steady lap, and that's what I was thinking. I knew I wasn't going very quick, but I remember thinking how quick it feels and how slow it was. You know, when you look at the time, it wasn't quick. And I think up on the mountain, it's fine because you ride the mountain. You have the ability, if you've got a road bike at TT week when the mountain's one way and you get yourself up early, or you wait until race week's finished and there's still a couple of days and if it's nice weather, you can go up on the mountain and you can ride the TT course using all of the road and a relatively decent speed. And that just felt really similar. The bits you can't practice and you can't prepare for is going down Bray Hill as quick as you're allowed to, like maybe 130-ish miles an hour, but you've only been down at 30. So it was such a shock to the system. And I remember coming out of Union Mills, and then that whole section up the Ballahutchin, through Ballagary, down through Glenvine and Crosby, and that whole section of road where you've never ever been over 35 miles an hour in your entire life, and now you're doing 150. And it's just like, you're so used to absorbing that scenery at a pace, like the same pace every time you drive through it, and now it's coming at you so quick. And the overriding feeling I got from that was, how am I ever going to be able to absorb all this information? And I still get it now, and I'll get it in a few days when we go out for first practice. You haven't got this ability to compute everything that's coming at you. It takes a few nights. It's not too bad at the Grand Prix because you've had the TT, but it's been a little while now, and it will take a couple of nights again. Because, I mean, you think about the senior race day for the TT this year. Obviously, it didn't really happen, but we got a lap in. And so you've been down Sulby Straight at 170 maybe, and it wouldn't have felt that quick because you've done it 20 times that week. But that's the last time I've went anything near that kind of speed. You know, I haven't even sat on the bike since then. So it's a big gap. And what's the quickest I've been in my car since then? Like 80 miles an hour somewhere, you know, on the going from the mountain. So it's nothing. You can't even compare it. And so it takes a little while to get that. And I didn't know at the time that's how it worked. I just have this overriding feeling of the first night of practice, thinking I can't absorb all of this. I can't take it all in. It's too fast. And there's just a slight concern. And I came back in after that and I spoke to a few people about this and they said the same thing. It's like, I can't take it in. And it feels like then you're overthinking everything because you're trying to do things. Do I need to do things a bit quicker because it's coming up so fast? And what happens is as the week goes on, everything starts to just become really, and then eventually it's just like, you can just do it without even thinking. And you can pick people out and you feel like you've got all the time in the world by the end of race week. And also, it's bike comparable too. So you see it with the TT boys now, if they go out on their 1,000 and get 3 or 4 or 5 laps in the first night of practice, they just then jump on their 600. It's just like easy. Whereas for us, the 600 was our 1,000s. And some of the boys also had a twin. So that was their easy step. But obviously, I was just on the one bike. And yeah. So I know I've just gone off on one there completely. But for everyone who's done it, you'll completely understand what I'm talking about. And for everyone who hasn't, hopefully you get a little bit of an idea what I mean. But yeah, these newcomers, step back about 10 minutes. These newcomers are some really, really good ones. And it's really exciting to see how quick they're going to be and how they'll progress. I've kind of got an idea of who I think and how quick. But again, I'm not going to say anything about that. Just wait and see how it all pans out. But in terms of the Classic TT side now we've gone back to splitting it up. We've got Classic TT and Manx Grand Prix. I'm not even too sure who's riding what. I've been so busy with my normal life this year. It's just like I've had no time to do anything that's remotely, just I've got a bit of spare time. I'll look this up. I've just been so busy. Again, that's nothing to talk about on here, but I'm a little bit out of the loop on who's riding what. I just saw something pop up the day with Davey Todd on his Ducati. So that'll be interesting. So I haven't really got anything. I could have done a load of homework and done a preview for this, but I'm going to go into it a little bit more blind than some years with who's going to be riding what and who's going to be fast. But I'm excited to see how, it's always exciting to see those boys ride and riding those bikes, and you see them and you always think they're going to be, they'll be steady-ish because, you know, they're older bikes and stuff. But even, I say the older bikes, I mean like the classic super bikes, although they're old, they're really, really good. And there's lots of bits on them that look old, but were built, you know, last month. And they've got really good modern suspension, really good modern tyres, modern brakes, and they are really, really good. And so the times they pull out of them shouldn't really be surprising. But nevertheless, it's great to see them riding those kind of bikes. It's great to see how adaptable those riders still are. They're not just stuck in the way of riding a modern super bike. They can jump to a more analog, like old super bike, and still be really, really fast on it. And it's nice to have the variety of stuff as well. So that's what I enjoy most about the Grand Prix compared to TT, is just the variety of machinery. But yeah, interesting to see those guys, and I'm going to keep that as a bit of a surprise for me, as much as it will be for some other people as well who don't know too much about it. But yeah, that's just this first little quick video. It was basically, I didn't know what it was going to be, and it's turned into a little bit about my first year at the Grand Prix, and a tiny little bit about what's going to happen this year. And obviously the newcomers that we've been involved with, really excited to see them. But I'm going to leave that there, just really, really quick one for this one. And I'll try and get some more updates about, you know, what we've been up to and things. Not obviously TM specific, but just more videos for the channel, hopefully coming soon. And thanks again for everybody who's joined the new one, who's come with me, who understands what's happened, and basically let's try and make this one bigger and better than the last one. Because thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.